You're listening to The Last Easy Mile, a show for men who know there's more waiting but aren't sure where to begin. I'm Josh Farahi. Whether it's carving out space for adventure, being a more present and intentional father, reconnecting with your physical edge, or rediscovering a forgotten skill, this podcast is about moving from stuck to in motion. Each episode explores that in-between moment, right before the leap, when the excuses run out and something real needs to begin. We cover fatherhood, work, faith, creativity, and what it means to keep showing up, especially when no one's coming to rescue you. Welcome to The Last Easy Mile. Let's walk it together. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time because, I tell everyone time is our most valuable resource, and extending it to me and is true. I'm truly grateful for it.
Thank you.
Secondly, I want to let you know I found you on social media, and I was going through kind of a spiritual awakening about what does it all mean, what are we all about. I'm mid-aged and I got 3 kids, and then your message resonated to me, and I ordered your book. Actually, I have it right here. I finished it recently. And it moved me, and it impacted me, and so I thought, let me reach out to Kute and let me see if he'd extend his time. So thank you. But before we jump into the book, maybe you can provide a little background, about your history and about how you came to be a truth-telling, liberating speaker and motivator.
Wow. That's a few podcasts, but I'll do my best. Look, in a nutshell, I've always felt in some way a calling to make a difference in people's lives. It was a sort of desire and inspiration from a young age growing up. I didn't know the form that would take or what that would look like exactly, but I just felt something. And so as a young boy, I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana, my mother's Japanese. I grew up in London, and so I grew up from all these different cultures. But I grew up in a very unusual environment, some might say. For me, it felt very normal. I didn't know anything else, and I think that was a blessing that I didn't think anything special of it. But my first memories as a young boy was seeing blind people see and deaf people hear, and I remember being around age 6, 7, seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor. She picks up the gravel that this man walks on and wipes it on her face and stands up. And so I grew up around miracles and people standing up out of wheelchairs. He'd look at a person in a wheelchair and say, "Why are you in this wheelchair? You're not sick, stand up." And so this was my upbringing, the possibilities of life. And this man who performed these miracles was my father. Built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, a huge church in London, 4,000 to 5,000 people every Sunday. At its height, hundreds of thousands of people in Ghana, considered a miracle man of Africa. And growing up in this environment was a real blessing. My father was a very spiritual man, a very metaphysical, mystical man. So by the time I was born, I grew up meditating, and my mother was Buddhist, so it was interesting, let's say that. And when I was age 8, I started speaking my father's church at age 14. I was ordained as a minister and given the mandate to take over my father's organization. And that was the beginning, you could say, of something, because I knew when I always wanted to make a difference, but I knew when this was announced that this was not my path, this was not my destiny. But I think, like many of us, I was too afraid to I was basically too afraid to speak my truth, because I felt that if I dared to be honest and if I dared to speak my truth, then I would be outcast. I would lose my father's love and the relationship would be over. So I tried to fit myself into a box of being who I thought the world needed me to be for many years. And by the time I turned 17, almost 18, was a pivotal moment in my life where everything started shifting, because during this time I began reading and devouring hundreds of self-help spiritual books as a young kid. I'd sneak into my father's office and I'd read, just trying to understand life and what was happening to me, what I was feeling, and what's the purpose of all of this existence. Yet I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't feel it was through religion or the church or my father's organization. And so what do? And by the time I was 17, 18, I felt my soul calling me to a different path. I felt my soul calling me to America. I felt my soul calling me to go to the US, pursue this spiritual personal growth path, because all of the authors I read about were in America, specifically Los Angeles. And so sometimes I think what your soul guides you to do doesn't really make sense to your mind or make sense to your logic. But I think I have found that when you follow your soul and you follow your guidance, you'll always end up in the right place at the right time, with the right people, doing the right thing. And so that's when I knew what I had to do. And I had the conversation with my father, and I left everything behind. And we didn't speak for 2 years, and that was a huge challenge. And here I am, 18, with no college degree, no money, no contacts in the US, just a dream. And my soul is saying, go to America. And I'm like, everyone says you're crazy. And long story short, I ended up winning a green card in the green card lottery, and that's what enabled me to come to the US. 2 suitcases, knowing no one in the country. And an 18-year-old kid landing in Los Angeles 20-some years ago, just following a dream, pre-internet, pre-social media, pre-all of that. But I was possessed with a vision and a dream. And that's what drove me. And so I came and found teachers and mentors, and then went on my own path and traveled to India and traveled the world, and really at a young age started to awaken to the deeper dimension, I think, of who I really was, and my truth and my essence and my purpose. And that's what started the path of coaching people. And this is before coaching was popular, coaching people. And, one person grew into 5, 10, 20, 30, etc., etc.
Yeah, amazing story, actually. And you outline most of that in your book, and I encourage, folks to read it, because, for me, once you start having kids and you're starting a family and you get stuck in your routine, and you kind of lose a part of yourself, and the stresses of life kind of weigh down on you, and when I read your book, the best way to explain it, and we'll talk about it more, but it kind of lifted the fog of life.
Wow, nice.
If that was my experience, because we're so focused on the past and the future. In our everyday lives, at least people like me, I run my own business. I have multiple balls in the air, and your message about surrender, the magic of surrender, is really powerful, in that we, as especially Westerners in the United States, with the hustle mentality, and everyone's supposed to get after it and lean into all the hard work, and which is fine. But I think your message is not to surrender in the classical sense. I think it's surrender to your fate, and surrender to the moment. And so touch on that, and how you kind of like figured that out as an ethos. When did that happen as a direct message in your teachings?
I think I'd always been sort of teaching it in some way, but I would say it came into a focus in the form of the book. My mother, who I love deeply, and she's just a love of my life. She raised me, taught me love, had an amazing relationship with my mother. In 2016, she was diagnosed with stomach cancer.
Right.
And that was really hard, and that's kind of, as you know, if you read the book. But I got to spend a year with my mother, and the first part of the year I was trying to heal her, fix her, make her well,
Right.
She's going to overcome this. And I soon realized that she wasn't really cooperating. She maybe had a different path, and in the efforts to try to make her better, I was getting more pissed off and mad in the process, and it was driving us further away. And so I had to just let go and accept her path and accept the situation. And what started out as the worst year of my life ended up becoming the best year of my life, because I got to just be with my mother and love my mother. And I think the only regret I had in my life in that moment, when I really was honest, was, wow, why did I wait for this moment? Why did I not spend more time with my mother? Why did I wait till it was too late? We hear about it, make the most of it, but it's not until you're in the situation do you realize, shit, wow, I really didn't get it. And so that hit me really hard, and I got to spend this incredible year watching my mother, being with my mother. I was living in Los Angeles. I'd fly back and forth from LA to London, where my mother lived, every month to be with her for a week and fly back and travel, and it was nonstop. And so About 6 to 7 months into the process, the doctor said to her, and I was in the room, they said, basically, get your affairs in order because there's nothing else that we can do. And it's a real moment. It's a real moment. And it hit me like, wow, I'll never see my mother again. I'll never have a conversation with my mother again. She won't meet my children. She won't meet her grandchildren. And it was like, wow. And then I looked at my mother, and this is where I think something cracked open in the direction of surrender that I mean, I'd always been living it. I'd always been following that path. I'd always been talking about it in some way, but it really came into focus because I asked my mother the question. I said, are you afraid? And my mother said to me, I'm not afraid. And she said, I'm not afraid because I know I'm not the body. This body is just a temporary vehicle for the soul. And she was so free. She was so at peace. And then I looked at my mother, realizing this was it. And I said to her, what can I do for you? I wanted to be a good son. What can I do? Where can I take you? What can I buy you? And my mother said, there's nothing that I want, and there's nothing that I need. The only thing that I want, the only thing that I need is what God wants for my life. And I realized in that moment that she was in complete peace. I realized in that moment that she was completely surrendered, you could say. She wasn't, she's not like she wanted to die. She wasn't attached to dying. She wasn't attached to living. She was just open to the highest possibility, the highest unfolding of life, the highest unfolding of what life was seeking to express. And she was totally at peace. And then as I sat with my mother, I saw that my mother, this little Japanese woman, she had been living this way her whole life. She met my father, didn't know who he was, had never spoken English, never left the country, never met a foreigner. Boom, felt the calling, married this guy, sight unseen.
Unbelievable.
And just unreal stuff. And so I looked at my mother and I realized she'd been demonstrating the true essence of surrender for me my entire life. I just didn't see it. And I saw the power of this. And I saw, it was like, wow. And so when it came time to writing my second book, I had all of these ideas. I was going to be smart, intelligent. My first book was a bestseller. Let me be strategic. And what's the book that would get me on a bestsellers list? What's the book that would, my publishers would want? And I came up with all these ideas on a whiteboard, and brilliant ideas, but none of those really aligned and resonated. The only word that I wrote on this whiteboard after an entire day was a small word in the corner of this whiteboard that said surrender. And I resisted it. I thought, oh shit, not that. And I realized that was the only topic that really had a vibration, a resonance, a frequency, a pull that felt genuine and authentic to me. And I knew that was the book. That's what I wanted to speak about. Everything about my life started to make sense. Everything came together. The book had a soul of its own. And I looked at my life and what I had been living with my life and my father and coming to America and everything. And I saw that my whole life had actually been preparing me to speak about surrender, not from a scientific standpoint, but from a real, like, this is how I had been living my life, but didn't even really articulate. And everything clicked. And that's when I really felt like, wow, I looked at my mother. I looked at those people that I really respected, were heroes. My mother, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Oprah, in their own ways, they all surrendered themselves. They all lived surrender, whether they called it surrender or not. They all got to the point. They all got to a certain point where they let go and surrendered who they thought they should be and the life that they thought they should be living. And in that surrender, they transcended themselves. They went beyond their sort of little human frailties and ego selves, and they tapped into another dimension of life. And that's when life began to live through them and express through them and create through them. And that's when the magic began to happen for them, and life began to use them. And so when I started getting really clear about that, it became clear for me that surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do. I think surrender is the password to freedom. I think surrender is the real secret to true manifestation. But in our culture, as I reflected on, I'm going to align with this message of surrender, I started to sort of look around in our culture and see how so much of our culture was counter to that. So much of our culture had so many misunderstandings around surrender. this sort of misconception that surrender is weak, that surrender is passive,
Right.
that surrender is giving up, that if you surrender, you're waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you're going to be a doormat, you're going to not manifest your goals,
Especially in the United States,
especially in the West, right?
Yeah.
You know, especially in the sort of driven Western,
That's right.
like I will myself and it's all me.
100%.
Which you know, hey, it's great. However, there are limitations to the path of the ego, and so I'm actually saying, no. What if in surrendering, if you understood the true essence of it, you didn't get less, but you got more? Maybe not what you expected, but what if it was better than what you could have planned? What if it was better than what you could have willed? What if it was better than trying to force something in your life to be something that is not? And so that's the invitation, like to really get people excited about, hey, if you want more magic in your life, if you want the miraculous, and everybody wants more magic, then you must surrender. That's the thing. But most of us, we all want the magic, but nobody wants to surrender. Yeah, I want more magic, but I don't want to surrender. It's not the equation. Like, if you want more magic, more miracles, more blessings, more abundance, you must surrender. And the degree to which you surrender is the degree to which you experience the miraculous and the magic. And so surrender is a letting go. It's a letting go of control. It's a letting go of who you think you should be, the idea of the life you think you should have. It's a letting go of the limitations that you put on life and God and the universe and yourself so that you can be available and open. And I think that's really what I saw, and that's really what felt true and aligned for me. And I think we are here, if we all look at the most amazing things in our lives, meeting your wife, meeting your husband, the list goes on.
Sure.
Most of it we didn't plan. It's like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet my wife in Starbucks at 6 p.m. this day. Going to put it in my vision board. It doesn't happen that way. Most of it happens, you're just living life the best you could, and boom, this amazing moment of grace happens, blessing happens. Like, I couldn't have planned that. Exactly. And that's the moment of surrender.
Right. I think what resonated with me big time is you know, I'm a bit of a control freak in the sense of, you know, you framed it the right way. You said the ego always needs to predict the future and analyze the past. And I'm paraphrasing. And that's what gives the ego its purpose. And not the ego in the modern, you know, pop culture sense. I have a big ego. No, the ego inside of you.
Yeah.
Right. The inner voice. And so by shutting the ego down a little bit from that control mechanism and saying, hey, I'm going to do my best. It doesn't mean you surrender to effort, or you don't surrender to putting your best out there, or loving the hardest, or whatever it is that you do. Surrendering is really, you know, telling yourself that I'm going to do what I got to do, and life will happen for me when it happens as it's supposed to happen. Am I understanding that philosophy correctly?
Yeah, I think it's important that people are clear. Like surrendering, people just surrender, just sit at home and do nothing.
Right,
Just surrender,
right. It's not
just sit
that.
and just wait, sit and just get fat. Don't go to the gym, watch TV and watch Netflix. It's like that's not surrender. We must not confuse surrender with laziness. We must not confuse surrender with just being a slave to our addictions. It's like, you mean I'm just going to surrender because I just have an urge to smoke cocaine? No, that's not surrendering. That's just being addicted, you know? I just have an urge to just sleep with this woman that just not my wife. That is not surrender. That's just being a slave to your biological urge, right? You know, like I never feel like writing my books. I don't enjoy the process of sitting there and writing. And left to my own devices, I would never freaking write. You know, but that's not surrender. Surrender is you feel the deepest truth of what is true, what is authentic, what you're called to. And you align with that and you follow that. And it's not to just follow the fleeting mood of the moment. Fleeting mood of the moment. No, that's not surrender. That is limitation. So surrender might mean you actually in a moment do what you don't feel like or you're not in the mood to do. Make that phone call, write that book, go to the gym, eat, you know, the vegetables or whatever it is that's healthy for you. Even though you don't feel like it, surrender is because you have a deeper commitment to something bigger, something greater than the moment, than just your urge you do that. So it might mean doing things you don't always feel like doing because there's a deeper commitment. And that is the deeper surrender. I'm sure there were moments that Gandhi didn't feel like doing certain things. Martin Luther King didn't feel like going certain places. Mandela probably didn't feel like going to prison for 27 years.
No, he didn't.
But does that mean he shouldn't have gone to prison for 27 years? What if he didn't go to prison for 27 years? Would he have become, in the grand scheme of things, the great soul, the Mandela that we know? And so surrender is not laziness. It is not passivity. It is aligning with the truth of your being and having the courage to commit to that and follow that. And sometimes you won't feel like it, and it's okay. But that is the surrender. It's like, I don't feel like going to the gym, but you know what? I'm going to get my ass up today and do it because I have a deeper commitment to being healthy and living my purpose and being around for my children.
Right. I appreciate that. And the Mandela example, no one is sacrificed like him, but to bring it back home to something more personal, we all go through life and we have these challenges and defeats and failures. And in reading your book, you spent a lot of time writing about how, that divorce or that breakup or the fact that you got fired from your job or the fact that you lost a lot of money in your business. Surrender doesn't mean accepting those and not trying harder. It's understanding that those things happened to you for a reason and that life is teaching you, the universe is teaching you for your next iteration. And I actually find that perspective really helpful because the human condition is difficult, right? And so when you're young, you think, oh, I'm a snowflake, I'm so unique, and in some ways we are. But as you get older, you start to realize we all experience, some core things all the same. Everyone has gotten fired at some capacity. Everyone's lost money or broken up with a significant other or been heartbroken. And so I think what a real powerful element of your message is that, look, all those things that happened are all part of building you into what you are, and the universe is teaching you for today, at this moment. And so accept that, and I thought that was real powerful. And I'll bring up another point. I'd like you to touch on both of them if you can. There's an anecdote in your book where you were visiting India, and you were at a train station, and the train was late, and you met a friend there that you ended up becoming friends with. Tell me about that story because that resonated with me as well.
Wow. There's so many train stations. You might have to jog my memory of my own.
Oh
book,
yeah. So in your book, the train was 9 hours late.
Yeah.
And there was a family laying down and making the best of it, and then you met an individual who kind of broke it down for you that in a way that kind of works in with your message.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I spent so much time in India and so many time in train stations. But the essence of what I learned in Indian train stations from so many people was the train is always late.
Right.
And I ended up spending 8-9 hours at a time sitting in a train station. 12 hours. I think the max was like a 12-hour delay or something crazy, just sitting around in the train station. And I remember the first times I was in the train station just pissed off, mad, because it's like I couldn't go catch a plane because there was nowhere close. I couldn't catch a taxi because it would probably cost thousands of dollars to get where I was going. So I'm stuck in what felt like hell, and I'm pissed off, mad, resisting. Look, I think the thing that I want people to understand is in any moment of suffering, when you are in a situation that you cannot control, in any moment of suffering, if you investigate your mind, you will see that there is a pattern or a belief in your mind that sounds something like this. This is what's creating your suffering. The experience that I'm having is not the experience that I should be having.
Exactly, yeah.
I should be having some other experience than the experience I'm having right now. Shouldn't be this way, shouldn't be this traffic, shouldn't be this hot, shouldn't be this cold, shouldn't be this president, shouldn't be this, my wife be this way, shouldn't be. The experience that I'm having is not the experience I should be having. I should be having some other experience. Boom. Instant suffering. I'm at the train station, shouldn't be this way. The thing is, but it is this way. It is. And that resistance is what creates, and that thought pattern is what creates our suffering. events by themselves really don't have any meaning. You know, like if I said to someone, okay, you being stuck at the train station for 12 hours is going to prevent you from getting on that plane that's about to crash. Is it good that you're stuck in the train station, right? Or is it bad? It's like, thank God you'd happily be in the train station knowing, right? So many times when we go through experiences that we don't understand, because we are looking at it from the lens of our limited ego, we don't see the entire picture. We don't see the whole possibility. We don't see the whole pie. We just see the train station moment. We're stuck, we're late, and we're frustrated, and it shouldn't be happening. But we don't see the interconnected stream of events of how everything is completely connected. So we don't see the entire picture of how life is unfolding. And so I think what I had to learn to do was at the train station, just I realized, well, me moaning, groaning, and complaining is not going to make the train come faster. I'm not in control of the train. I'm not in control of the government. I'm not in control. The only thing I can control is myself. And I looked around, and there were people at the train station that were happy. There was freaking family there having a picnic, playing games. It was like a vacation for these guys, right? I'm like, they look like they're in family bliss, and I'm here just fuming for hours, every hour getting more and more pissed off. You know, eventually the guy says to me, you know, but essentially just chill. You know, you can't control the train. And it was so indicative for me of my life as how we try to control things that we cannot control. You know, the reasons we suffer is we resist what is. We resist what is. And we try to control things that we cannot control, things that are out of our control. Or there's a thought pattern of the experience I'm having is not the experience I should be having. I should be having some other experience. So we resist what is. We have this thought pattern of the experience I'm having should not be the experience. And that triggers more resistance, which creates suffering for us. We either then go into the future, right? And we start creating a negative future fantasy about all the things in the future that might happen, might not happen. I'm going to be late. What's going to happen in the future? Also, the other reason that we suffer is, you know, we're stuck in the past, stewing and brewing, trying to think about control things that have already happened that we can't control. We can't go back and redo that relationship. We can't go back and uncheat. We can't go back and unheal. We can't go back. So we suffer because we're resisting what is. We're suffering because we're in the future. We're suffering because we're in the past. Or sometimes we're suffering because we're just focused selfishly on ourselves. Me, my, me, my, rather than just focusing on how can I be of service, moving the focus off of yourself. And this is why we suffer. And so I saw all of those things stuck at this Indian train station, just resisting what is, in the future, in the past, focused on myself and my needs. And I'm looking around and seeing families happy, joyful, having a great time, having a picnic, basically, using this. And so, like, one of the steps to acceptance is, one of the first steps to surrender is you have to be in acceptance. You have to accept what is. Like, okay, this is what is. Now, I don't want people to confuse what acceptance means. So what? I'm in an abusive relationship, so it is what it is, and I just have to sit there. No. It's only when you accept what is can you change what is. And you cannot change what is until you first accept what is. If you are an alcoholic, but you're in denial that you are an alcoholic. If you are a marijuana-holic, but you're in denial that you have a marijuana problem and it's messing up your clarity, you can't do anything about it. And that's where a lot of people that are addicted, like, no, I'm fine. I don't have a problem with alcohol, just a few sips here and there. I'm cool. No, I can quit marijuana anytime I want. I can quit anything. So quit. Well, you know, we have to accept what is and be truthful and honest. This is where people can start. Truthful and honest with where you are at without judgment. That honesty gets you into a relationship with what is. It's raining. The train's not here. This is what it's hot. It's cold. This is what is. Then you can actually surrender and decide what is in my control. What can I do about this situation? And when you're in resistance, you can't even move to that next stage.
Right. And I think Western culture specifically has a problem with resistance. I mean, everyone does around the world. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the hustle bustle and the, what are we going to do in the future, and how could I have improved my past, and all the social media influencers that are, the hustle culture, and they have their place. I'm not knocking anybody; they're great, but I think your message is something that a lot of folks can benefit from, because we can't constantly let the ego take advantage of focusing too much on the future or the past. Life is that train station, and I think if more people kind of look at that as the train station of life, and that you can't control everything, you're never going to be able to control anything, accept your past for what it is, and
I mean,
surrender to the.
most people can barely control if they go to the gym or not.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Most
right.
people can barely control. You sit down at a meal and overeating and how much food you eat. Let's start
Yeah.
there. Now
Yeah.
we can't control what we eat, but we're trying to control the entire universe, the government, and the president, and everything. It's like
Right.
the stock market. It's like, So I think we have to start with really where we're actually at and
Yeah.
work from there.
Yeah, I appreciate
And
that.
and
Yeah.
I think control is the master illusion.
Yes.
Control is the master addiction. Because, okay, yeah, you can drive on the street. But have you noticed when you're driving and there's opposite cars coming, there's nothing in the middle that prevents that car from just crossing over and hitting you.
Right.
So how much we have this illusion of control, but at any moment, that car could just have, the guy could fall asleep, the woman could get into road rage and just decide to, swerve over. There's so many variables of what could happen, realistically could happen. The car could have a tire issue and erupt and swerve to the left. So there's all of these things that we don't have control over in reality. But we kind of live in a bubble, an illusion of, I'm in so much control, but we don't. And so we have to, you could say, live as though we have control, but also know we don't have control. And that's the paradox. It's like we drive as though, yes, we have complete control, and what we have control over is looking around, making sure our car's fine, driving in the best way possible. But if you stress about everything else, it's over. Not only will you suffer, not only will you not enjoy life, you're going to be tense, anxious, and stressed. It's like going to the ocean, being a surfer, and saying, I'm going to control the waves. It's like, come on, how do we, can you really control the waves?
Yeah.
What you can control is sensing the waves. And so life is like the ocean. The waves are happening. The economy is happening. The stock market is happening. But you can bring yourself into relationship with the cycles and the seasons and the waves and learn how to surf it. And when those big wave comes, you can learn how to surf it. You can learn how to surf those waves. Maybe that's the part we have layers of control over.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And when you're coaching individuals, entrepreneurs and successful folks, how long does it take? I don't know if I would use the word deprogram. How about reprogram folks to kind of, because this is a daily practice, right? And ever since I read your book, when I was having a moment in the future, in the past, I'd be like, okay, just do what you got to do, and it will happen the way it's supposed to happen. But that's an exercise. It's not something that you read a book and it.
Well, that part is a mindfulness of I think if people can make peace with, okay, let me get clear of what is most important and most true for me. Right? Surrender is, let me align with what is authentic. Because many entrepreneurs, many business people, many times we set goals that we think of what we want, but we don't realize that, you achieve it only to realize that this goal that you achieved is not what you really wanted. You didn't want that house, that Ferrari, that whatever it was. And it was just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. So many times our goals can come from wounds. Our goals can come from like, I don't feel enough and I wasn't loved. I'm exaggerating, but I wasn't loved by dad. And so now I'm going to spend my life proving to my dad that I'm enough and I'm worthy of love. And if I build this thing and get the Ferrari, get the house, get the thing, then dad, you see, I made it. But when you get there, you still feel empty because that thing is not what you wanted. Right? And nothing wrong with the thing. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with the car, the house. Go for it. But it won't give you the deep fulfillment that you're truly, truly seeking. And so I think part of surrender is really aligning with what's true, what's authentic, and giving that 100%. Many times we suffer as business people, as entrepreneurs, because we get attached to the outcome. It's like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be 100 million, it's got to be 10 million, it's got to be 5, it's got to be this outcome, and this has to be the outcome. There can be no other outcome. And we get so attached to the outcome that when we stress along the way, and we suffer along the way. And then when we achieve it, we're happy for a moment until the next moment, or when we don't achieve it, we're miserable. So then we're in a constant cycle of stress and confusion and anxiety, and then unfulfillment. But when you say, okay, no, this is what's true, I'm going to give this 100%. When you can get more invested in the process itself, that doesn't mean you don't give. You give 100%, but you don't get attached to the outcome. You give everything you've got, but you don't get attached to the outcome. The outcome, the goal takes you in a direction and a journey. And the journey that you go on in the pursuit of your goal is really the blessing. Because who you become as a person and the lessons that you learn along the way, then you become the person who's capable of fulfilling the next level of the vision of the goal of the dream or the desire, as an example. And so when we get so attached to the outcome, we miss the process. And if we don't truly go through the process, then we don't become the person. We don't become the person. We're not really ready for the next level. We're not capable of the next level. And so if you're going to be attached to anything, be attached to the journey and the growth and the learning along the way, not just the outcome. Because sometimes as business people, entrepreneurs, we have to pivot. You have to change. You have to
adapt.
So just because you didn't, success is not a straight line.
No.
So just because you didn't achieve that thing, that doesn't mean it's not successful. Just because somebody had to get a divorce, does that mean the relationship was a failure? Challenges in our culture, we have a very one-dimensional view of success. You achieved it, you didn't achieve it. But I like to say, look, there's a multi-dimensional view of success. There's the goal line and there's the soul line. And the soul line, we are souls. The soul line is the degree to which you learn the lesson that your soul was seeking to learn in the pursuit of the goal, the dream, or the desire. And I think so long as you can learn the lesson, even if the outcome wasn't what you wanted, you have succeeded. If you achieve the outcome, but you become a degenerate, if you achieve the outcome, but you become more selfish, if you achieve the outcome, but you become more resentful and more egotistical and more narcissistic and more, it's like, is that success? Right. Yeah.
Right. No, I appreciate that. What would you say to someone that wants to, I was very, and I'm admitting this, until I was in my late 30s. I'm 43 as we talk, but it wasn't until I kind of got to my 40s that I'm like, okay, let me read some of these, spiritual guides and let me learn more. There's something missing. Like there's more out there. And I started to kind of, I'm right now scratching the surface, admittedly. But
yes,
what do you say to someone that wants to take that first step? What would you suggest? Obviously, you'll have your own resources, and we'll talk about that maybe at the end here in a few minutes about how people can learn more about you. But besides, yourself, what would you recommend to folks that want to open that door and just peek in?
I would say sit down. Create a practice of removing distractions from your life daily. And cultivate a practice of listening. And from that listening, number one, start to tell yourself the truth. Mm-hmm. Because there is no transformation without truth. There is no transformation unless you tell yourself that you can read all the books you want, go to all the seminars. Right. But if you keep lying to yourselves about what you feel and who you are, nothing will change. So information is not transformation. Because many of us, we know what to do. Well, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't eat that. But why do we keep doing what we know we shouldn't do? It's our conditioning. So I think if you really want to change things, one place to start as a simple place is just start with the truth. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, okay, who am I? The truth is, what do I feel? The truth is, what do I really feel? The truth is, like, what do I really want? The truth is, like, what's really going on inside of me? Many of us, we stay in relationships that we know is not right. Mm-hmm. We're not in love anymore. We stay because of the kids, because what people think, because I've invested, so because of the money, because and we wonder, why do I feel like shit inside?
Right.
That feeling of pain that you feel is a blessing, is a gift, is a signal. It is your soul speaking to you, saying, hey, something is off. Something is not right. It's the alarm bell going off saying, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. But often we don't pay attention. So start with telling the truth. We stay in relationship that we know is not right. We work jobs that we hate. We say yes when we mean no. We go against ourselves to get love and validation and approval. So if you could, there is no transformation without truth. And I think truth is real prayer. That's why I'm not even starting with, hey, go meditate, go pray. No, because if you're lying to yourself and you go to the temple and say, God help me, God will be like, leave the temple, please. Go home and tell yourself the truth.
All right.
Because to me, truth is real prayer. Truth is real meditation. Because so much of what we pray about will shift, release, and transform when we just own the truth and we fix it. We own the truth and we change it. We own the truth and we speak it. That's what is going to transform your life. And so the truth. I think often we don't tell the truth because we're afraid of the consequences and we're afraid of the outcome.
Sure.
We're afraid of what's going to happen. And so we live the lie. So what lies are you telling yourself? What are you pretending to not know? What is it costing you? Feel the pain. Feel it. Feel the cost. Feel where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years from now if you just keep going down the same path. Because it is painful if you let yourself feel it. And I think many times, as a coping mechanism, we distract ourselves. We drink it away, smoke it away, sex it away, drug it away, social media it away, porn it away, shop it away, work it, just so that we don't have to feel what's really inside. And I think if you want to surrender and you want to transform, stop, sit, breathe, listen. Start feeling the truths. And even if you're not ready to act on them, it's okay. Like, sometimes the ego plays a game of confusion. It's like, I'm not sure, I don't know. But we know. We know this is not right. We know that what we're doing isn't. We know that what we're smoking, eating, drinking, whatever it is, and there's no judgment, but we know it's not working for us in some way.
Right.
And so even if you're not willing to make a change, at least take the pressure off of yourself with having to take action and simply acknowledge the truth. Yeah. I have an issue with alcohol. I'm not going to quit yet, but I'm not going to BS myself that I'm fine. I got an issue with alcohol. That starts a process. I hate my job. Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't have to leave because maybe you got 7 kids to take care of. It's fine. But just acknowledge, I hate my job. I'm not going to pretend anymore. This is not why I was born. I hate my job. Feel that. Feel it. Just let it burn inside.
Sure.
And that begins a process and starts moving you one step to the next step to the next step.
Yeah, thanks. All right, let's get to know what you're up to. And I know you're a busy guy. You're always traveling. You're speaking. Where are you going? You've been all over the world. I mean, just from your book.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
amazing.
Yeah.
So where are you going, and what's new with you? And tell us more how people can find you.
Yeah, look, it's pretty straightforward. People can go to my main website, Kute Blackson, Kute, Kute Blackson, BLACKSON.com. That's where you can probably just find the overall general info there. For years, I'm known to do intense transformational retreats around the world. My signature retreat was in Bali. Depending on when people listen to this, that was a 12-day event in Bali, life-changing. I did that for 15 years. We did 24 events in Bali twice a year. We did our final one, or what I think will be our final one, last December. So I'm actually recreating new events. And so depending on when people listen to this, we may have launched some of the new retreats. And so
cool.
You can stay in tune with that just by going to the website. My books, You Are the One, The Magic of Surrender. I would encourage everyone to connect with those books. I just also, the beginning of 2025, released a kind of a new online course. It's 8 modules. It's called The 8 Levels of Gratitude. And I wanted to create something that would be accessible to everybody at whatever level and whatever stage you're at. And I decided to just basically give it to the world. And so it's 8 modules, 8 videos.
Nice, and they can just go online and
people
participate.
can go to www.8levelsofgratitude.com. That's 8levelsofgratitude.com. Enter your name. You're going to get a video every day. And thousands of people since the beginning of the year, I think since March, have already downloaded it. And
nice.
It's crazy what's happening. We also just launched another resource for people. If you're wanting to manifest more from soul and alignment and authenticity, your goals, dreams, and visions, I created a new masterclass that I'm teaching people how the principles and laws of manifestation and how to harness them to bring your goals into physical reality. And so you can find out more about that, www.manifestationmasterclassonline.com. That's manifestationmasterclassonline.com. Just enter your name and email there and sign up, and I'll see you in the class.
Yeah, I'll be there. Hey, look, Kute, I appreciate your time, your energy. What you're doing out there is meaningful. It's helping people. Keep up the good work. Maybe we'll have you back on in a year or two to give us or maybe even less time, but we'll have you back on to give us an update. You're always traveling, speaking, and putting good stuff out there. So thanks so much.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time, and keep up the good work, man.
Yes.
Thanks for walking the last easy mile with me. If something in today's episode moved you, good. That means there's still something alive in you worth pursuing. But don't let it end here. Send the message, try the thing, start the shift. If this episode helped, like, subscribe, and share with someone else who might be feeling stuck. You never know who needs to hear exactly this. I'm Josh Farahi. Until next time, keep walking.